This will be a very brief and rough introduction. A few weeks ago I was contacted by Lydia of Olight Flashlight, the Olight Flashlight company, regarding an offer to perform and conduct a review of one of their newer flashlights. Now, with some level of disclosure here, in all fairness, the offer from Lydia came out to me, without any request on my part. It came completely out of the blue, out of almost a bit of an ambush. Didn't expect it at all. I did contact her and we had some discussion. The caveat on my part was that it would be a completely unbiased and objective review, not a marketing tool of any type. She was completely agreeable to that and even indicated that that's what she would have expected. So in all fairness to her, that's the communication I received. Now, I also offered to return the light to Olight once the review was finished, because Gear Challenge does not have an interest in acquiring free gear or free stuff from businesses that are hard at work trying to conduct business. That's not what Gear Challenge is about. And a number of individuals that I have met at events such as SHOT Show or other locations are completely aware of that. Now, Lydia, again, by way of disclosure, indicated to go ahead and just keep and there's two flashlights instead of just one. So I was expecting one light device, and instead we received two. Again, just by way of a disclosure issue, let's get that out of the way. Lydia indicated to just keep the light once the review is finished. We'll make a determination on what we're going to do once the review is done, because again, Gear Challenge is not about getting free stuff from businesses that are trying to be in business. That's not necessarily always so good for business. Now, also by way of more full disclosure, two of my colleagues with Gear Challenge have had that offer extended to them, and I believe that they will also be receiving a flashlight, or whatever the case may be, directly from Olight for review. Now, these boxes are sealed. I'm going to assume that they came through their regular, the regular channels and basically off the shelf. I don't imagine that these have been altered in any way. And by way of additional full disclosure, when I was contacted, I am aware that a number of other individuals that conduct reviews and testing, evaluation of gear, were also contacted with a similar offer. So this is by no means some special offer that was presented to me or to us. So as far as the contents, we will unbox these in just a moment. The R50 is a light that has a self-contained battery. In other words, the battery is charged by way of a micro USB, and it is not a battery that is common, at least not to me. I believe it's a 26650 rechargeable battery. I don't know if that's, it may be lithium. I believe it is lithium, and this is charged in situ of the body of the flashlight itself. As far as replaceable batteries, I'm not familiar with the availability of replacement batteries, so in the field, if you wanted to carry an extra, I don't know if that's possible. Quite frankly, with the micro USB charging ports, if you have just a little bit of time to conduct a quick charge from a battery device, you're probably just better suited with that, unless you absolutely need the extra run time from a fully charged, or previously fully charged battery. We'll go into some of the features on this light. I'm not familiar with this light personally at all. It reportedly will throw out a maximum of 2,500 lumens on maximum. It apparently has a waterproof rating up to 2 meters. That seems to be pretty common in the flashlight industry at this time. Again, we're talking approximately a little more than 6 feet or 2 meters of depth. we've got a friend out there that's popping off a little bit, probably having their own little dispute. So the body of the light is aluminum. It apparently has hard anodizing, a type 3 hard anodizing for scratch resistance. And there's several features as far as the user interface and the controls. We'll get into that a little bit later. That's about all I can think of just off the top, and again without this being removed from the box at this time. Now, as far as the S1A Baton, this is a light that I have heard about a little bit. The light has been available relatively recently. I believe this is one of their newer introductions compared to the R50. I think the R50 has been out for at least a few months. The S1A Baton is an interesting light, at least for me personally, because I like AA powered lights. You know, we all use, and a primary go-to light in the field is a light powered by a 123 battery or a CR123 battery. But quite frankly, with the availability, and I've said this before, with the availability of AA batteries almost anywhere, the cost factor and the ability to have lithium batteries, you know, a wide variety of the specific configurations of the cells, that is the battery cells themselves, it just makes it a very versatile light. And quite frankly, very, very bright. You know, the features of most of these lights give you a lot of options for application of the light, and you know, they're just about every bit as good as a CR123 powered light, at least in my opinion. And you know, going to that, this light does not appear to have a micro USB charger built into it, so you would have to remove the battery to replace it. However, I know that there are some companies that are now coming out with batteries that have a micro USB charge port built into the body of the battery. So those are going to be some other issues that we'll be getting into later in some additional reviews. Now, I believe that this light, one of the things that I have noticed about this light just in passing is I believe it also has a magnetic feature in the tail cap. That'll be interesting as far as application, making it a hands-free device in some circumstances. The high lumen rating on this is reportedly at 220 lumens. I believe that there is the lowest rating is 0.5 lumens. The next lumen rating would be 5 lumens. The third next rating would be 50 lumens, and then the highest rating at 220 lumens. That may be with only particularly types of batteries. Not too sure about that as well. There is also a strobe mode on this, reportedly at 10 hertz. And there is actually, I didn't notice this earlier, but there is a turbo mode at 600 lumens. Now this is only when a 14500, a 14500 rechargeable lithium battery is being used. So that is, again, as I mentioned earlier, dependent upon the battery source, the power source will be dependent upon some of the functionality of this light, which is common with most lights as well. There will be some other user interface issues. It has a side button, and other than that, that's about it for the initial introduction of these lights. I'm very appreciative of receiving 2 of these instead of just one. I was expecting one light. Again, Lydia was you know, honorable in her response to my indication that this would be a completely objective review, and the fact that there are a number of other individuals that are going to be performing reviews probably on these very same lights. We'll next transition into the actual user interface and some of the hands-on with this. The Olight S1A Baton AA powered flashlight as provided by Olight, and as discussed earlier with the unboxing of this light. Now, the light comes packaged in nice solid retail packaging, and not necessarily the gift box of some of their other lights. It does come with instructions, and is held in place. Looks like it's held in place with an O-ring here. There is a lanyard, which is appears to be very, par for the course for right now with lanyards that are supplied by many flashlight companies. And initially I was going to cut or pull this off, but this appears to be an actual O-ring that they're using. Might be a good idea to hold that for a bit. Let's just roll this out and roll it out. I would recommend just rolling it and popping it that way. And you never know if you might need to use an O-ring in the future for some other purpose. They come in handy for a lot of applications. Now, the light itself, very nice and small for a AA powered flashlight. It has reportedly an aluminum body. The bezel is anodized, either aluminum or stainless steel, most likely. Usually, well, we're getting a real strong signature from the battery. Sometimes I've had stainless steel that'll pick up a little bit of a magnetic signature, but nonetheless, I digress. The LED seems to be, there's a bulb-like feature on the LED itself, and I am not positive if there's a reflector in. Well, it appears to be. Well, it's not much of an actual reflector. That may all be one piece. The LED may be all self-contained. I'm not sure. I'm not seeing any orange peel or roughened part of if that is a reflector or not. And again, the LED is a slightly different configuration than other LED flashlight bulbs that I've seen in the past. The light does come with a clip, a belt clip, or just a clip attached. Spins around relatively freely. I like the fact that it is deep set, so if you were to place it in a pocket, this will set down further deeply set into the pocket, or be very, very well secured on a belt or other latch point of your gear harness or what have you. The face or the position of the clip would be also an easy mount for, say, the bill of a cap or a hat, or even a side piece of something on your body, or your load-bearing equipment, or whatever you may be using. You could use this as a small directional light, or to make it hands-free. Now, the body of the light is at the head is smooth, and then we have a hexagonal shaped point at where the operator button is. There is some very well incorporated knurling on the body of the light, but there are some flat points as well. So there are 1, 2, 3. There are 3 flat points in the body of the light itself. The knurling is square and flat on top. There's some small knurling, a small section of knurling on the tail cap, and not super aggressive to texture, but still nice nonetheless. In addition to the clip being there to help with anti-roll, the hexagon section of near the operator's button also helps with an anti-roll feature. The tail cap removes and falls sometimes. The inside of the tail cap has a spring, and that is either, well, it's yellow metal, I don't know if it's brass or not. And the inside of the threads are anodized until you get further deep into the tail cap, and then that is bare metal. The body of the light it does have a battery inside, and the battery is removed in this case because it's stored with a clear plastic block to help lock out power. It comes with an Olight lithium non-rechargeable AA battery. The threads of the light itself, it's difficult to see without some additional magnification, but they may actually be flat. I thought that, oh yeah, they are. They're flat on top. So the threads are squared or flat on the very top. The threads are on this, it's very well lubricated. You can see a patch right there. And of course there's some additional residual lubrication on the inside of the tail cap. The interior of the body has a small button all the way forward, and there may be a black donut around that button. The very edge of the interior of the light is also unfinished, but the threads are anodized as well. Insert positive end of the battery to check for function. The threads are smooth. I detect no grittiness. Of course, it is well lubricated, and there is virtually no lateral play on this. Of course, the tolerances and diameter of the body versus the tail cap are pretty close. So, yeah, there's not much lateral play on the threads until you get fully engaged. Fully engaged, and depressing the operator button brings us to low, and then it cycles 3 levels from low, medium to high. We'll do this double tap again. I have not referred to the manual, so we'll do the quick double tap and see if we can get this up to some type of a turbo mode. Depressing the button for 3 seconds. See if we can do a lockout. It does not appear that this one has a lockout. Yeah, just depressing it for 3 seconds brings it into a very low mode. So again, operator features on this, we'll have to refer to the manual, and when we do some outdoor tests of this light, we'll be able to get a better impression as to how it works in the field and what kind of throw we have. Interesting little light. Now this is the light that has the magnetic tail cap. So for purposes of some full disclosure, looks like the magnetic tail cap does work. We'll take a look at the interior of the tail cap. The spring is triangular, the base of the spring is triangular, and it appears that that spring, the retention spring for the battery, may be removable. So the magnet may be removable as well. It appears that there may be the magnet down in the base here. So again, a little closer examination will reveal that. The O-ring that came in the packaging looks like it may be a good replacement for this O-ring. Let's take a look and see if, remove the clip. The clip is nice and sturdy, unlike some other clips of similar design. This snaps right into place. There's not a lot of rocking, and this feels like it would retain in the field really well. It doesn't seem like the battery tube would disengage from the clip very easily in the field. I mean, it's possible, but it's not real easy to do. In addition to that, when the clip is snapped onto the body of the light, there is a cutout here at the front, so if you were to simply slip it into a belt or slip it into some webbing, you could probably use that as a temporary hold piece or a forward fitting or a reverse fitting piece as well to reverse it from the regular clip mode. So a little more on this here in the very near future. This will be a side-by-side comparison and a field run of the Olight S1A Baton. We will compare this light to the Nitecore Defender. This is the Defender that uses the CR123 battery or the AA battery. The S1A Baton, made by Olight, runs on a single AA battery. And just for local use, this is on higher mode. We'll cycle it down to low and through high. This is at the ultra low mode. Going to the next level, and now up to the third brightest level. Double tapping should bring it up to the turbo. That's on the turbo mode. Comparing that to the brightest setting of the Nitecore Defender. Now we'll pivot this around to the deck here on the asphalt. Again, on the right we have the Olight S1A Baton and the Nitecore Defender. We'll go ahead and bring the Defender down, and using the Olight S1A Baton on the turbo mode, illuminating the base of that tree and bush area. So, I don't know, what do you think? For the most part,
has a much wider throw at that range, whereas the Nitecore has that tighter beam.
Right, and the Nitecore also has an actual reflector compared to the setup of the LED bulb inside the Olight, which we've already kind of gone into that. Now, just for the purposes of ultimate throw, with the Olight S1A Baton still on turbo mode, we're getting actually throw all the way up to the tree line there.
Yeah, you can see it in the
without,
video.
And you can actually make that out from the lens. And then using the Nitecore Defender on its highest mode, we're getting a little more throw there. But then again, comparing these two LED setups, with the Nitecore having the actual reflector versus this, we're back onto the Olight S1A Baton. That's actually not a bad throw comparing the size of this light.
Yeah.
Okay, now we'll take this over for another shot in just a moment. Now, continuing with a field test on the Olight S1A Baton, single AA battery, we're going to go ahead and use a test on glass to see what kind of penetration we have. So we've got the S1A Baton. Make sure we're on the lowest setting now. So with the lowest setting, we've got not much of anything. Going up to mid mode and now high mode, we've got relatively good penetration on the plate glass at an angle, and then moving over to this other plate glass, we're able to pick up some interior. Is that correct?
Just the front room. It's not penetrating all the way back to the
not more than about 15 to 20 feet. Now, just for comparison, we're going to use the
you can pick up that back room on the Nitecore.
Now, the Nitecore, of course, with a different reflector, is throwing through a little better. And then we'll just pan over here, and of course, with the Nitecore with a different type of a reflector that's intended to throw more, we are getting better penetration. With the Olight on its high mode, not necessarily a lot of penetration, but enough to adequately get into that interior wall and to see the contents. Let's see if I can cycle this up to turbo.
Yeah, you definitely get a little bit of definition bump.
Let me cycle it again. There we go. So just a little bit more on the, actually, for such a micro-sized light, this Olight is doing a relatively good job of illuminating the interior of those rooms through the plate glass.
For me, I would really like it for like vehicle searches at night. I think it would be something that's useful to add to the kit because it doesn't add a lot of weight to your pocket, you know?
Right, and then also, as you had mentioned before, for the purposes of medical evaluation.
Yeah, I really like the magnetic backing on it to clip it onto something if you have to use it as like a field light.
Well, I'm not talking about the magnetic lighting, I'm talking about just simply the true white light that you're getting on that. Is that something that you would consider adequate for medical evaluation?
That would be perfect for medical evaluation because you won't get any of like the diffuseness that you got off that orange peel diffuser.
Right, exactly. Okay, very good. Gear Challenge and Veronica. Dun, 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 dun. We are going to work on a little bit of flashlight comparisons tonight. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That's correct. So, let me turn this off very quickly. If you would, please illuminate my flashlight with that night core. This is the Olight. Let it come into focus just a bit. There it is, almost. This is the Olight S1A Baton. We've been testing and evaluating this for a bit. And just for comparison purposes, I'm going to bring this down to the lowest setting. We've got a slight puddle in front of us, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do, just a bit. And let's see if we can get this to focus properly. So, this is the low setting for the S1A Baton on these shrubs, a shrubbery as Monty Python would have called it.
The shrubbery.
The shrubbery. And if you would just illuminate off to the side there with the low setting of that night core Defender. Very good. So as you can see, the night core has a lot more penetration, a lot more throw, whereas the Olight S1A Baton is more of an area light. As you can see here, there's Veronica looking very smashing, you might say. And again, we've got the Olight here is more of an area light. The Defender is more of a throw. Now we'll hold it up against that shrubbery again. Perfect, you've got that bush illuminated. I'm going to illuminate this just a bit more. We'll let the Olight cycle through. That's on low setting, right, Veronica?
Correct.
This is on the next setting, that's medium. And this is on the highest setting. Now, what we're going to do, and of course, are you able to tighten that Defender to the highest setting?
I am doing it now.
Very good. So the Olight is really actually out-throwing the Defender the Night Core Defender. And now if we bring the Olight down to off and double tap it, we go to what's called a turbo type of a mode. And that's got considerably more brightness, wouldn't you say?
I would say considerably more.
And now if you would, go ahead and illuminate that bush with the night core on the highest setting.
I'm having difficulty with my light core. It died.
Let's take a look. You were right. We've got a dead night core, so this part of the test is not going to function very well. And actually, let me tuck that away. We had a failure, haven't we, Veronica?
We had a failure.
Well, failures occur. So let's go ahead and cycle through the user interface on the Olight S1A Baton. Cannot be clearly illuminated here in this ambient lighting situation. So we've got it on high. It's back to low. Medium. And high. Now if we bring it down to completely off and double tap, it goes into a turbo mode.
That is so bright.
Very bright for such a AA battery.
Oh.
Now if we triple tap the button is here, we should get a strobe. So we've got a nice little strobe that we can use. It's throwing all the way to the wall there.
Wow.
And on the pond. Let's see if we can strobe Veronica here. There you go.
It's so bright.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the user interface on the Olight. We've got a little more precipitation here, as you can probably clearly see. And yeah, inclement weather is always nice, isn't it?
Definitely is, especially with a flashlight that bright.
So, and then we cycle back down to low, which is just to the naked eye, I mean, we can see the pavement, we can see the water, we can even see the shrubbery and the fence over there. You can see that that's actually bringing up some extra illumination. And in addition to that, we have a magnetic base that we'll get into later on, because quite frankly, it's a little uncomfortable to do this right now. You're very cute holding up the umbrella there.
It's fun.
There you go. But nothing like a gown in the rain, right? More on that later. Okay, it's been about 3 months since the introduction of the Olight S1 Baton, and after navigating some camera issues, I was allowed to stumble around in the dark, bumping my forehead. So do I have any bruises or contusions?
Yeah, just a little bit, but
Of
we'll
blood.
let it slide for today.
Yeah, okay, just a light abrasion that will probably meld in with all the rest. So we've got a little comparison to do and a little update regarding the Olight S1A or S1 Baton, and some quick updates regarding the Olight S1A Baton. The S1 Baton is powered by a 123 battery. The S1A Baton is powered by a AA battery. Now, just go ahead and let my esteemed colleague describe a couple of things with some interjection by me with his experience over the last 3 months.
So when we met 3 months ago, you gave me this as a present for work purposes.
Now wait a minute, don't say present, because next thing you know, you're going to be asking for a ring.
So it was more of a graduation gift.
Okay.
As I
Of sorts.
transitioned into professional world.
Yes,
and
of sorts.
so this light has gone with me every day since the time that I was given it, and so far I haven't had to replace a battery yet.
Wait a minute, this battery is the original?
This is the original
Let's go ahead and
battery
pop it
that
out
we
the back there, just as a confirmation. Keep it in,
Well,
keep it in the camera. Keep, you know.
So it was we tested it with one that you pulled out of a camera, but after I went home, because that battery was dead, I placed this one in there.
Right.
And it has been the same battery since.
So you replaced it with the Surefire lithium battery. I think I had
did.
given you a battery that I wasn't sure about what the usage had been on that
Correct.
battery.
And when we were trying to demo it, we noticed that it wouldn't kick all the way up to the high.
To the turbo
high
mode?
setting. Correct. And
Or
so
whatever they call it.
when I went home, I got a new battery and threw it in there, and it has killed it ever since.
So now that Surefire, pardon the pun, right? That Surefire has that was new out of the box.
That was brand new, straight out of a box.
Very good.
So
now you've carried this daily.
Correct.
I think you've ascribed to some recommendations that I gave you about carrying a light with you even in the regular part of the world and in the daytime.
Correct.
Yeah, and you've utilized this. Would you say that you've used this battery the battery that's in this Olight S1 Baton? Would you say it's fair to say that you've probably used it to some degree almost every day?
Yeah, I would. I would say that I never realized before how many times I was going for a phone to use the flashlight function, or looking for another flashlight that was around the house somewhere, until I actually had one that I carried with me in my pocket that I could reach up and just click on and do whatever I need to do.
Okay, so yeah, you found the usefulness of having a light with you at all times.
Correct.
Now it's interesting. This is you told me a story, but this light actually did a little bit of I won't say a half gainer, but it took a trip across a room, didn't it?
It did. It did. Actually, just the other day, I was sitting down, and when I stood up, it was caught on my pocket, and it flipped it out, and it skated for 10, 15 feet across some concrete floor. So,
and not too much worse for the wear. You've got a little bit of the finish has been worn on the high points, basically. But
yeah.
So yeah, wow. I'm very impressed that now. What's the longest period of time that you think you've used this within a 24-hour window?
So I've actually run this light as a replacement for my.
You have another light that you carry.
I do.
And that's a.
And it's a guard dog.
Guard dog.
It's
I've never
it's
heard
a
of it.
550 lumen, powered by. It's basically a rechargeable. What's the one that's like two 123s put together?
Oh, okay, right.
It's just like a
1780 or something
like that. Yeah.
Right.
But the battery's super finicky. The charging system's super finicky. I've broken 2 of them. in the last 3 months that I've had them.
Now the Bulldog is similar to another light?
The Guard Dog, yeah. The Guard Dog is a quasi replacement, a cheap replacement for like a Streamlight Stry-On. They're about the same dimension, same batteries are used in both, but one comes from Streamlight, one comes from Guard Dog.
Guard Dog, okay.
So
very good. And now, how is your honest, your candid impression? Have you compared the Guard Dog flashlight to the S1 Baton?
I have. In fact, the night that my Guard Dog died, I transitioned to this light almost immediately because of the low light factors that we were in, and all the guys that I was working with were questioning what kind of a light I had chosen, because the beam pattern that this one had put out was just about equivalent to what they were using
with their Guard Dogs.
With their Guard Dogs, and they were astonished by the fact that it was powered from this tiny little handheld device. They couldn't believe that it was a tiny light.
And of course, you've got features such as a lower light emission, a strobe. Does the Guard Dog have that as well?
The Guard Dog does have a strobe, but the strobe on the Guard Dog isn't at the highest power output setting. So the strobe on the S1 Baton is actually a more disorienting and useful strobe, in my opinion, compared to that of the Guard Dogs.
May have more throw to it if you're trying to use it as a signal device.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah, I don't subscribe very much to the whole disorienting strobe effect. I've seen people get agitated and make them a little more agitated than they were, and they have something to focus on at that point. But yeah, so this is outperforming this other light that you've been carrying on a regular basis.
Correct.
Not necessarily daily. So the throw on this, even though it's a small LED that is built in, there is no exterior lens. The lens is somewhat built in with where the LED is. You've not had any problems with that, with the throw, and it works really well as an area light as well?
Not at all. It in terms of the Guard Dogs that we carry, the Guard Dogs will put a beam a little bit further out into an area than these will, but in terms of functionality within confined spaces or just seeing something that's within the immediate area, this light will put just enough of a beam, like as good of a beam out there as the Guard Dog will.
Right. So the Guard Dog has a little more throw for distance.
Correct.
Have you noticed any change or variance between the color output between this S1 Baton and the regular light that you carry? In other words, does the other light have a tendency to add more in an area that might be shaded, or in other words, does this illuminate those concealed areas better than that one, or have you noticed any
I can't
difference?
really comment on that. I haven't really noticed anything of that sort. It's just it's an astonishing light for how little it is.
Right, and you can carry, basically you could carry 2 additional 123 batteries as backup in your pocket or in a carrier and almost be the same size as the light device itself.
Correct, yes.
Yeah, wow, so that's an excellent update on the S1 Baton from Olight. Very quick question as well, has this been submerged or exposed to any highly challenging environmental situations?
It actually has. One day I was looking for something in a water trough, and the light at the surface was dissipating too rapidly, and so I said, hey, what the heck, this thing's supposed to be sealed, and I shoved it underneath the surface of the water and used it underwater for approximately 2 minutes.
About 2 minutes, and the depth was what, about maybe a foot, arm's length?
About arm's length.
Okay.
But pulled it out, shook it off, threw it back in my pocket, and it worked fine ever since.
Okay, and no evidence of any rust or corrosion on this thing. Of course, I would doubt that there would be. So, outstanding report on the S1 Baton. I'm just going to update very quickly on the S1A Baton, again by Olight. This is a AA battery. Of course, we've got the magnetic feature in the tail cap, and this light goes in positive forward towards the head of the light, or towards the bezel. As you can see, this is the original Olight battery that came with this light. So I've been using this for approximately 2 months as a backup to another light that I have been carrying for years. And I have to say that the throw on this and the user interface is every bit as good as any other light that I've carried. The only complaint that I have, and I won't call it a complaint, but the only situation that I've encountered is that I like to carry this one instead of in my back pocket, where I normally carry that other AA sized flashlight. I carry this in my weekend front pocket, clipped to the rear area of the weekend front pocket. And I have had 2 episodes where I've inadvertently pressed the power button and noticed that I've got some illumination under my shirt or emitting from my pocket. So I'm curious, have you had any inadvertent activations of the power light?
With this light, I actually have had one instance of inadvertent activation, and just like you mentioned, it doesn't take long since it is light face up. It doesn't take very long to all of a sudden catch a glimpse of your light and recognize the fact that it's on and then shut it off.
Of course, the bad thing about that is you could be in a situation, an environment where you get an inadvertent activation of the light, and you've just turned yourself into a bit of a beacon, which would be bad. But again, I think that if you're aware of that and conscious, you might just want to pocket the light completely and avoid the inadvertent activation, or clip the light to something more open, maybe a higher pocket or webbing if you've got that, or that kind of a situation. Very good. So we're going to continue with field use of these lights. Hopefully we'll be able to get some comparison shots in the future in the dark. As you can see, my light has extremely minimal wear on the finish. It's holding up very well, but of course I haven't launched mine across the floor yet. I've dropped it probably twice. So go ahead.
And mine is just got a little scratching of the anodization there, a little wear at the bottom edge where it's going to be bumping against things that you have in your pocket, a little bit of scratches on the ano up towards the bezel and the lens, and then just some pocket lint on the lens itself, which you can just take your finger and wipe out, and it's good to go.
Or blow it out, or just use a brush. Yep. And that's probably as far as a negative feature, that's probably the most negative feature I can think about, the way that this bezel is set up and the way the lens is set up. It is a depression, as you can see, and so therefore it does afford for things like lint or dirt, especially if you're in a really dusty environment, or if you're in a muddy environment. You might have to clear that lens. It might be a little more difficult to clear that lens than it would be to clear a flush or a flat lens. Okay, outstanding. Well, we'll be getting back to this after a bit. Thanks a lot. I appreciate the input. Don't take that the wrong way.
Okay.